Thank you. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your favor. Thank you for Tiffany Davis Speaks. My Father, my Master, who I serve. I thank you in advance for what you're about to do. But most of all, I thank you for the listeners that are listening right now. Lord God, I ask that you give them favor. I ask that you give them grace. I ask that you enlarge their territory. Oh, that you would bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Keep your hand with us. Keep us from evil, that we may not cause pain or harm to anybody. This is Tiffany Davis Speaks. But most of all, your child and your daughter. I walk in your favor. I stand in your will. Thank you, God, for your favor. Welcome, everyone. This is Tiffany Davis Speaks. This is who I am. Tiffany Davis, welcome. Established 1974. Thank you for joining me. I'm here to take you on a journey, the journey that I've been on, the journey that has saved me. God has saved me from myself, and I'm so thankful for that, because not only will he do it for me, he will do it for you. And for that, I'm thankful also. In this podcast, I'll take you on a tour of how you can be saved, how you can be delivered, but most of all, be redeemed and restored from what your past has caused you, the pain and all that you've already went through, and how you may not know how to get through. This is what I'm about. This is who I am. Tiffany Davis Speaks. So I am Tiffany Davis, and what do? I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I give a celebration, because every day that I awake in the morning, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that God has given me another opportunity to let somebody know that they too can be saved. Grace is that gift that we don't deserve. So when I wake up, it's a celebration. Every day I celebrate my life. Every day that I wake up, I celebrate, because I know that God is about to take me on a journey, whether I go to the 7-Eleven to get coffee or whether I start my day at work. I am a cybersecurity director, full-time and part-time, or I would like to say also full-time. I am a spiritual advisor. I am a prayer warrior, most of all, and I'm God's girl first and foremost. So throughout the day, even at work, I always worship and praise and thank God, and let somebody else know that they too can be saved. It's not just me. It's not about me. It's about saving souls. It's about bringing others into the kingdom, for what our Father will do. And when we spend time with the Master, and I'm also here to teach individuals that when they spend time with the Master, how he can enlarge their territory and take them to a new height in their life. So what motivated me to be a spiritual advisor is I asked God to save me from myself. I was walking in the hell, and I was walking in a storm that I didn't even realize, because, most of the time we have self-inflicted pain, but we never want to realize that it's self-inflicted pain, because we always think dancing in the devil's den is great until you're really in the fire and your body starts burning. So at a point in my life, I went through some hell, which I forgot to mention in the beginning. I am also an author of Confessions of the Other Woman. And what that story is about is just about me being saved, most importantly, saved from myself. And I wrote the book because I was in marriage. But while in the marriage, I was also in extramarital affairs, an adulteress. But I'm saved now, and I'm not her any longer. And for that, I'm thankful. But there's many that are still in that situation. There are still many walking around thinking that it's okay to be the other woman, that it's okay to ruin other households. And which goes back to self-inflicted pain, right? Because we're in that situation and we think it's all great while we're in it until we get out of it. And you're sitting on the end of the bed, and the married man that just left your house after he made you feel good, you're empty. So now what? What's next? And honestly, I got tired of being empty. So I asked God to save me from myself one night. I asked God, take me out of this pain. But in the spiritual walk, I was also, like I said, in an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage. And at that time, it was either kill or be killed. So I had to get out of that marriage. And in this podcast, we'll travel through that road also. So I didn't have time to go to a therapist, which sometimes that's a good thing, and that's what we need to do. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to go to a therapist. As I mentioned before, it was killed or be killed. So I had to give my life over to Christ immediately. And I had to ask God to save me, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in jail for doing something that I probably really shouldn't have. But I got tired of walking in the house, not knowing one day that I would be killed, not knowing one day that I may potentially kill my ex-husband. So I asked God to save me. And he saved me. He saved me from my hell in many ways. He saved me in my relationship with my ex-husband. He saved me from myself, most importantly. And he saved me and got me out of an adulterous lifestyle that I was living, that I thought was so glamorous. But at that point, I thought it was glamorous because guess what? It was about money, which brings to another topic that we'll explore later is my soul is no longer for sale. My soul was for sale when I was in extramarital affairs and I was in an adulterous relationship because I used to say no finances, no romance. So it was mandatory for me to do what? If I get on a plane and travel, you have to be paying me for doing that. So there was a lot of bags, Louis Vuittons and Gucci's and, all these luxurious handbags that we want and get on the flights and things as such. So doing that sort of kind of changed my life. And I got tired of standing in the fire. And when you're in the fire, you never think that you'll be burned. But honestly, my body was burning. My body stayed burning. I couldn't figure out why my body stayed burning, but my body stayed burning because I was really living in a hell of self-inflicted pain that I didn't know how to get out of. So I had to surrender and I had to submit to God. And that's what got me into this walk. And that's how I know is that I was saved. And I know that others too can be saved, but it's about that surrender. Many don't understand what surrender truly means, but it means every day, as I spoke before, when God gives you that grace, when you wake up in the moment and when you go through a lot of storms and you go through a lot of hell, he'll wake you up. But most of all, he'll save you from yourself. And there's a lot of people that's walking around this world right now that's on life support and don't even realize that they're on life support walking. Oh man, that's bad. But you can be saved. So in listening to this podcast, what I can assure you of is that it will take time. I don't want to sell you any false narratives that it doesn't take time. I don't want to sell you any false narratives that you'll change overnight. This is a process. And in this process, you've got to be willing to allow yourself to be saved, first and foremost, from yourself. You got to be willing to take yourself off that life support. You got to be willing to surrender to the master, God. You got to be willing to submit each and every day that you get another opportunity. And listening to my podcast, I will teach you how to surrender and what it truly means to surrender and what it truly means to get in the word and what it truly means to be around like-minded Bible teaching individuals and just giving yourself over to him and knowing that you too can be saved. You can be saved from the adulterous behavior. You can be saved from yourself. You can be saved from abuse. But most of all, what we don't realize is sometimes in that self-inflicted pain, there's an addiction that's attached to that addiction. And I'll go through in this podcast and give you a tour of how my addiction also hurt me, but now I'm recovered. Many think that addiction is just with drugs or alcohol, but sometimes it's a little deeper than that. I had a sex addiction also that God saved me from. I no longer have to, like I mentioned before, have to sell my body. So this podcast will help you in your deliverance, will help you be restored, redeemed, but most of all, rejuvenated from who you were, because you no longer have to be the person you were. Every day you get that grace, every day you get that chance, you can too be changed and saved. So service, right? We have a service. God teaches us that there is a service. So for me, and I don't like to say necessarily, you won't be working with me, but when you get together with me and when we become to get into a partnership with this, it's called service. I'm here to service you. I'm here to show you real time in life what God can do in real time. Again, this is a process and it doesn't happen overnight. At least I've never seen it happen overnight. But what I do know is that working with me, I will give you real time. You will see real life events, not only that, real experiences that I've encountered, that I know people that I've worked with in the past have encountered, and how their life has changed and how God has enlarged their territory, how God has expanded their territory, and how teaching them what faith truly means. Working with me, I am faith. I am walking faith. You know how you have that situation that you're in, and you never think that somebody else is in your situation because you keep quiet so long and you don't want to give up what you're going through because you're scared that you're embarrassed. I am transparency. I am the real deal. So there's nothing that I hide. There's nothing that I keep secret. What is real is Tiffany Davis speaks. What is real is Tiffany Davis, and there's nothing to hide. I'm free and I'm redeemed, and you too can be. I would recommend this podcast honestly to everyone. This podcast is for all walks of life. In my book, Confessions of the Other Woman, believe it or not, I'm in the last few weeks and months, I've been selling to more men than women. So this is for men and women. We get around. I don't, this is not a bashing male session. This is real life of what men do go through on the opposite side, what women go through, and when they come together, how great it can be. God doesn't pick and choose. He did that. That's not how that works. I mean, I'm not here to pick and choose. This podcast is for everybody. Everybody will get something out of this podcast. Men will learn how to really treat and love their women and what it means to be putting God first, even when you're a man, because sometimes, men are on that slippery slope where they think, oh, why do I have to trust God? Oh, why do I have to believe what you say? But in reality, men have the same situations women do. They just hide it even more. And they don't feel like they can have anybody to talk to, because what men don't understand, and in this podcast, men will see, is what they don't understand is they want to be loved too. They want to be heard too. They want to be felt good too. They want to walk in the door and say, hey, honey, how was your day? It's not just about a woman walking in from work and want the man to always pamper. Men need to be pampered too. Men need to be cared about too. Men want to know that at the end of the day, hey, honey, how was your day at work? Because when they go outside the door, the world is already against them. So as women, we need to make sure that we need to do what we can do before they go outside the door and when they come back in. Because what we do is we give them the opportunity to go outside the door and have everything fight up against them. And then when they come home, we're also fighting up against them. So they're losing a battle. So for me in this podcast, it's for me to make sure that they understand that they are loved too. They're cared about too. And we understand what their cares are. So the first thing that I want my listeners to get out of this is love. The second thing I want my listeners to get out of this is forgiveness. The third things I want my listeners to get out of this is grace. And favor, and understand that there is no judgment here. This is the no judgment zone. I understand that a lot of people will feel like that it's a judgment zone. And when they start listening to podcasts, they're all going to be like, oh, she's just trying to this is not about money. This is about saving lives. This is about showing people what love truly is, what forgiveness truly is, and how they can also be redeemed, how they can be restored, and how they can be rejuvenated and walk after they get off their own life support, and how they can change their lives. And they don't have to be embarrassed, because this is a no judgment zone. There's someone out there whose destiny is tied to my obedience to the call of God. Pain made me pray, and prayer made me powerful. When God saved me from myself, I decided that I would take this journey, but I don't want to take it alone. Please like, subscribe, comment, but most of all, share to Tiffany Davis Speaks podcast, where my voice is attached to your ears. Be blessed.